This is my Hendey lathe. What I do know about this lathe is that it's a 12x6 right here. So I mean, my understanding is this means it's a 12-inch swing and a 6-foot bed. So it's a good-sized lathe. The other things I know about it is it's got power cross feed. I know that, well, I'm pretty sure that this device on the back here is a tapering jig, and I'm not positive how that works, but I think that that's what that is. Of course, we got the tail piece here. It's got a chuck in it right now. This study rest was found in the vicinity of the lathe, and it appears to be a pretty good fit. It sits right on the ways, so I believe that's the study rest that would be used with this. It's got a big 4-jaw chuck on it right now. As far as how old it is, there's a couple of clues to the age. A lot of the earlier Hendey lathes had a big looping part of the frame here, a big circular tubular, almost like section of frame here that supported these big flat belt pulleys, and that was for typically, I think, in a big shop where you had overhead power, and they would just drop the big leather belts down and run the lathe. This, I believe, is newer than that because it doesn't appear to have that setup, even though this is a fabricated shield that somebody put on here. To me, it almost looks like this table right here was to support a motor at some point. What's been done is this big motor has been mounted, this 220 volt single phase has been mounted outboard on a whole bracket system here, angle iron, and then, I don't know if you can see it in there, it's kind of hard to see, but what's in there is a chain drive. I'll try and get some photos of that. And so it's got a chain drive to it, which looks original, so that's why I think this is a newer lathe than those other ones I mentioned with the big flat belts. What puzzles me is when I search for information on this lathe, I cannot find any Hendey lathes that have a similar gear change setup as this one. This has got this massive, polished from years of use, solid brass handle, and it's got a configuration where you basically you pull this out and you pull up to release it, and then you could slide it over into various gears. What I found is that it's much easier to do this if I rotate the chuck by hand and kind of move the gears as I go along. I'm scared to try and shift this with it running because I don't know if you're supposed to do that, and I'm not going to run the risk of damaging any of the gears. What I know about it so far is that this lever right here engages the clutch and drives the chuck. So if we, and it's also a brake, so if I fire this up and make sure everything's clear, so now it's running, and if I pull this over, see, it runs and if I shut it off and let it spin down, it'll spin down, but if I push it all the way over, it's going to break. So I can stop it quickly. So that's how that works. And then, like I said, if I shift this up, then it's very difficult to get it to move without spinning the chuck by hand. So I'm going to put the camera down. Alright, so now I moved it over one notch, and this is what perplexes me now. It doesn't do anything. This shaft right here is clearly the shaft that's being driven, and that goes like a bat out of heck, but the chuck doesn't move in this position, so I'm not sure what the purpose of that is. I'm not sure if that's for like when you've got the apron all the way down the other end and you want to have it come back quickly. Alright, now I've moved it up and over to this slot right here, and That really gets it rocking and rolling. Moves it fast there. And then there's one other position which is way over. Down here. There we go, into that position. It appears to be even faster. So I can get it to go in most of these positions except that one. Oh, you know what? When I had it over in one of these other positions, I didn't have it locked in. So that does work. That's the slower position. It's the slower speed there. So again, if we get a better look at this, hold on, get some light on it. This is the gear change setup on this Hendey, which I couldn't find any Hendeys online with a setup like this. Most of the Hendeys appear to have a lever like this, and then another lever like this over here, like two levers side by side. So that makes this a little different. And then we've got down here, we've got the whole placard that explains the threading. And we've got this shifter here, the gear change lever right here. Obviously has something to do with the threading, as does this. So you can see right now the rod that would move the apron's not running. And even with the truck running, it doesn't move. So that must be... Alright, this must be... Whoops. That must be like a neutral. Okay. That's a very slow speed there. That was moving this lever here that did that. Oh, and there we go. Now that's shifted over to that. How do you get that feed going? Oh, I see. Right here. There we go. That's going. That reverses, this lever reverses the feed. So it's not moving now. That must be this lever. Nope. Or is it? Okay. Oh yeah, it's moving very slowly. So this engages or disengages the apron. This puts it in neutral or changes direction. No, just changes direction. I don't know. So I really don't know anything about it, but it does a lot of stuff. A lot of things move. And I think it would be a good lathe for a person in capable, in capable hands. I think this would be very serviceable, to say the least.